Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster my good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Tuesday, 4th of July 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the island. Background to that news and sport and business and Sea-Watch and travel updates. And the newsmakers in person this evening. Tynwald Day tomorrow. The laws are a bit thin on the ground. Big financial gaps appear between Manx Care and Treasury. Did you know it's Alcohol Awareness Week? How's your drinking? Laxey flood prevention plans are on view, and the Island Games golfers are seeking success in Guernsey.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Faster my Siobhan Fletcher.
Faster my. Mark Cavendish put out another strong ride during today's fourth stage of the Tour de France, finishing in fifth. The Manx missile was once again in contention during the final sprint in Nagaro in the final kilometre, which saw two crashes towards the front elsewhere. Manx Care says its staffing levels are still insufficient to offer home births on the Isle of Man. In its July board papers, the healthcare provider says it will liaise with the Attorney General's chambers to extend the suspension of home births for the foreseeable future. The Department for Enterprise says it's proposing to temporarily remove the requirement for work permits across all sectors and occupations. Follows a recent public consultation during which the department says support was given for the proposals. Further afield, a man who killed 3 members of a family by setting fire to their home in a row over rubbish has been found guilty of their murders. A mother and her 2 children all died for breathing in smoke at their home in Nottingham in November. The woman who became the UK's youngest MP in 2015 says she's quitting at the next general election because the House of Commons is so toxic. Mary Black, the SNP's deputy Westminster leader, says she has no desire to have a long career in elected politics. And rain at Wimbledon is affecting play this afternoon. Princess of Wales is among the spectators at Centre Court. She's been sitting next to Roger Federer, who retired from the game last year. They're your headlines. News at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you, Siobhan, from the Ronaldsway Met Office. There's no wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is slight. Ben McCree's just in the edges of Douglas Bay at the moment. She'll be on the link span in about 20 minutes' time. And the 3-day weather this evening, bright with a northwesterly, bringing some showers this evening. It will dry up later in clear skies overnight, minimum 9 Celsius. For the big day tomorrow, Tynwald Day, mostly dry with sunny spells, a moderate southwest wind, top temperature 17 degrees, a risk of some showers during Wednesday afternoon or evening, down to 13 through the night into Thursday. Jardine is dry with sunny spells, a light to moderate southerly, later fresh to strong and up to 18 degrees. Tides on the way out, low water 17 minutes past 7, sunset 7 minutes to 10, high tide 6 minutes after 1 a.m, sunrise 7 minutes before 5, and the morning low tide 27 minutes to 8.
Manx Glass and Glazing can produce bespoke splashbacks for your kitchen in any colours. Speak to the team on 674 573.
With sunshine expected in the morning and any showers not until tomorrow afternoon, this year's open-air Tynwald will only be missing, well, one thing, and that's a lengthy list of laws to be promulgated. Just 4 will be read out to the gathered crowds, and that's well down on usual. Looking at the situation, John Moss.
The raison d'etre of the ceremony is the reading out of the new laws, although petitioners may of course disagree. But just 4 laws have got to the stage of being read out at St John's. It'll add to criticisms as to the productiveness of this administration. The 4 are the Manx Care Amendment Act, dealing with updating complaints procedures, the Income Tax Act, the Capacity Act and the Energy Act. That'll be followed by an invitation for petitioners to come forward. We know of at least 2, but there will be more. New rules apply to them this year, including enabling them to petition for something they see of national importance, even if they're not involved themselves. One petition from Nigel Sperring and Sharon Lambert asks for greater relaxation of the times that dogs can be exercised on Peel Beach. Another focuses on delays and carrying out stated policy after that policy has been agreed in Tynwald. There will be more petitions. As usual, the Fairfield is split into two, with the hill and the grandstand and the ceremony divided away from the stalls of the fair. The availability of stall sites for local produce is being criticised by some. A complainant was told of the high volume of application for stalls with more applicants than available plots. They were told that due to safety and keeping circulation routes clear, only 138 plots were able to be accommodated. Registered charities were told to give them priority. Then caterers are placed in a random number generator draw. Traders are then put in a separate random number generator draw. This process is used to ensure everyone has an equal opportunity. They say that if a plot does become available due to cancellation, there is a reserve list using the same random generator draw process. This year there will be a first. The Governor, presiding over the open-air ceremony, will be the first Governor ever in his office to have completed the gruelling parish walk over 86 miles just a fortnight ago. The 112.5 metres of the processional way shouldn't prove too testing for Sir John Lorimer.
The expected funding for the Isle of Man's Health Service next year falls far short of the projected spend and ignores the likely impact of pay awards, so says Manx Care ahead of the board's financial plan for the 2024-25 financial year being submitted to Treasury. Here's Sean Cowper.
In its papers for July's board meeting, Manx Care says Treasury's planning for the year ahead is based on an inflation rate of 2% for income, pay costs and non-pay costs. Along with other planning assumptions from Treasury, the healthcare provider expects this will give it a budget in the region of £310 million from April 2024. It warns this is far short of what it expects to need to fund its services for the 12-month period, particularly with inflation expected to remain higher than 2%. Manx Care says this has clear implications on its ability to address its core priorities around safety, compliance and responding to issues raised by the Care Quality Commission, as well as rising demands. It also stresses that this calls into question its ability to fund future requirements from the Healthcare Transformation Project, and that work will be needed to understand the changes to service delivery required to meet the budgetary target. The financial plan is due to be sent to Treasury in early August. The report concludes by saying it's clear the financial outlook for Manx Care will continue to be exceedingly challenging for this year, next year and beyond, with the board currently forecasting a £14.9 million overspend for this financial year.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Faster by, good evening, it's 22 minutes before 6. If you live in or around Laxey, or you're concerned about Laxey, you're being invited to view potential plans designed to prevent overtopping in Laxey. The Department of Infrastructure is organising the meeting for residents to view the proposed schemes and potential plans. Chair of Garth Commissioners Stan Ryzak says the village has seen an increase in floods in the last 30 years.
It is, because obviously over the last probably 30 years we've had a lot more flooding events with the high tides, and obviously we've had a massive amount of flood defences done on the Glen Road, and this is part of those flood defences for Laxey. It's the lower Laxey area which on the promenade needs to have some flood defences in, which DOI have come to us and said that they need to put these in for a 100-year event, so that's why they are necessary. It's basically for the residents' homes. Obviously if they get flooded like they did up the Glen Road, they will lose their ability to get insurance for their homes, and obviously the disruption for people down there.
With the drop-in sessions, is this something that the commissioners have a hand in organising, or is it just solely been the department?
No, the department came out to a commissioners meeting a couple of, well, maybe only 3-4 weeks ago, and we asked them if they would do a drop-in session. They were more than happy to do a drop-in session, which I think it's good because the public can see what they intend doing, and I think that would be the way forward so the public understand the reasons why they need flood defences down on the promenade. Laxey's got obviously had a lot of inherent problems with the flooding on the Glen Road, and this is just to make sure that the whole of Laxey has flood protection for the future.
There's real faith in the quality of the Isle of Man's golf players to make their mark at the Island Games in Guernsey throughout next week. Team manager and men's player David Kinraid and women's captain Shirley Price are happy with the way preparations in their respective teams have been going.
We're just doing the administration bit. The players are doing all the practice themselves. They're all putting time in. Yeah, they're all putting the time in. They're getting themselves prepped and ready to go.
They're all working really hard, and a couple of the girls have been away on competitions, so which is really good preparation. And like Dave said, they're putting all the time in, they're putting the work in, and it's really exciting now as the time comes.
Before we get there, the main events on the island will have taken place. We have to pick the team before that, so we have to believe in the guys that we've got, and I have total belief in them.
The island are absolutely thrilled about Tom and Anna doing so well, and to produce pros from the island, it's from a small island like this, it's wonderful. And so we've got Anna's sister and cousin playing, and Emma Noon as well, who's doing really well, and Linda is the fourth one with lots of experience. But yes, it's really exciting. We're doing lots of work to get other ladies involved to get into golf as well.
I hope that we're going to come away medalled. I really do believe they are good enough, and really I think they're good enough. We can come away with gold.
I'd like to think the same. The difficulty is, I suppose, we don't know who we're up against, but we certainly have the ability. I've got high hopes.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Mothership Ben McCree departed Heysham at 2:09. She's safely into the inner harbour, just going astern onto the link span as I speak. We'll be departing this evening at 7:45 for Heysham, arriving at about 11:30. The overnight departure 2:15, back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. The high-speed craft Manannan left Douglas at 4 o'clock. She'll be into Liverpool just gone 6:30, then back out to Douglas tonight 7:15 from Liverpool. Tomorrow morning's departures 7:15 Manannan to Liverpool, 8:45 Ben McCree to Heysham.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
The first British person to receive a medicinal cannabis prescription was one of the speakers at a public meeting in Castletown yesterday evening. Grow Labs Organics, the first business to be approved by the Manx government for the cultivation, processing and manufacture of cannabis products. Carly Barton is part of the team and shared her journey with the substance as well as her connection to the Isle of Man.
So when I was 21, I was on a chemo ward for 12 months because I had a really horrific blood condition. And the one person that kept me sane throughout that whole 12 months was an amazing person called Caroline. And Caroline was from the Isle of Man, and she was being treated over there for leukemia because that was the best hospital to treat her leukemia. I mean, I survived. Caroline didn't make it, and she had a very young son at the time who's grown up now. So my journey with my health started with her, in combination with her. So after that, I had suffered a stroke. I ended up on barbiturates, on diazepam, on fentanyl, on morphine. That was when I was 24, so I lived for 6 years on a significant amount of pharmaceutical drugs, unable to do the simplest of tasks, cut up toast, make a cup of tea, walk the dog. It was at that point that I tried cannabis, and cannabis totally changed my life at that point because it was the first time in those 6 years that I've ever experienced a pain-free state in my body. So I went on to campaign around cannabis. I was the first person in the UK to get a cannabis prescription when the law changed. I then went on to form an advocacy platform for people who are utilising cannabis. We've got 85,000 members in the UK now, and I'm really pleased to say that now I'm working with Grow Lab Organics, and we're about to build a farm on Caroline's land, which is really important to me because I always felt that I still have quite a lot of survivor's guilt about that, and I've spent the time since she died helping people with leukemia get better with cannabis, and now I'm here growing cannabis on her land with the blessing of her family and friends, and some of which are actually part of the company themselves, so it's a really big, important part for me.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 16 minutes before 6, in corporate news, Sainsbury's fell after the UK supermarket chain reported an 11% rise in grocery sales in the 4 months to June 24th and maintained annual guidance. The company said the total like-for-like sales were up 9.8% in the period, adding it had spent £60 million lowering prices amid criticisms that supermarkets were fueling inflation by widening profit margins during the cost of living crisis. Sainsbury's said it still expected underlying pre-tax profit of between 640 and 700 million sterling in the year 23-24 compared with 690 million a year ago. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. UK bank bosses have been summoned by the financial watchdog over concerns interest rates on savings are too low. Higher interest rates have led banks to put up mortgage costs sharply, but savings rates aren't rising as fast. The UK Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, said it's an issue which needs solving. The heads of Lloyds, HSBC, NatWest and Barclays will meet the Financial Conduct Authority this Thursday. The city watchdog will press the banks on their savings rates and on how they communicate with customers, according to the Financial Times.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European shares closed flat on afternoon trade. The yen nudged up. Oil held steady and gold was flat in thin trading because, of course, it is American Independence Day. It's a US national holiday. The numbers from Ramsey Crookall at the close in London. The FTSE 100 down 0.1% at 7,519. The DAX in Frankfurt down 0.25% at the close at 16,041. And nothing happening in America because of Independence Day. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 27.3 cents, €1 16.8 cents, and 23 South African rand 74.9 cents. In commodities, gold's up 0.33% at $1,927 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up 1.5% at $76.02.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
This week is Alcohol Awareness Week, and Ireland charity Motivate wants people, and perhaps you, to think about how alcohol can impact your mental and physical health and relationship. Chief Exec of Motivate is Tia Ozenturk.
The theme for Alcohol Awareness Week this year is the cost of alcohol. And the cost isn't only related to the actual cost, but the cost to your health, to your family, to your relationships, to society, to the health service. So the cost overall that alcohol has, not just on the individual, but on the whole of the community itself. We have a very large caseload of people that come to see us every year. And we peaked in COVID where we offered over 5,000 appointments. And since the advent of COVID as well, we have seen more people reach out to us for support who are impacted by alcohol issues. The Chief Medical Officer recommends that nobody should drink more than 14 units in a week, and that is spaced out over the week. So we want people to think about their relationship with alcohol and the cost to themselves, to their families, and the impact it may have, and maybe think about reducing what they normally would drink. Okay, so there's a checklist really that you can go through. Is somebody complaining about it? Do you find that all the other hobbies and interests that you had have kind of gone by the wayside because you're focusing more on drinking? Are you planning your day about how you're going to get your drink in the evening? You don't have to be drinking every day, but when you do drink, you may find it hard to stop. You're starting to see it's costing you not only physically, some health issues, but also mentally it may make you feel a bit depressed. So there's a whole host of things that are sort of red flags and indicators that alcohol may be starting to impact more than your pocket.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio Sport.
Fast am I, Rob Pritchard.
Fast am I. Good evening. Mark Cavendish put out another strong ride during today's fourth stage of the Tour de France, finishing fifth. The Manx missile was once again in contention during the final sprint in Nogaro, in a final kilometre which saw two crashes towards the front elsewhere. It's more important points on the board for Cavendish and his Astana Kazakhstan team at this early stage, with Jasper Philipsen winning this afternoon to take his second stage victory in a row. Lotto Destiny's Caleb Ewan took second, with third going to Bahrain Victorious' Phil Bauhaus. In football, Russian United has announced who will lead their first team for the 2023-24 season. Andrew Moody takes up the post of manager, with Barry Critchley coming in as his assistant, after the duo had led the Southern side's combination team during the last campaign. Under Moody and Critchley, Russian United's combi side achieved the major feat of having a perfect league season last year, winning all 22 league games to take the Canada Life Combi 1 title for 22-23. Their side then made it a double of silverware by winning the Ascot Hotel Junior Cup in May. Russian United is now on the search for a new combination team manager. Anyone interested in applying for the role or requiring further details is asked to contact the club directly. And finally, in cricket, the Isle of Man women's T20 cricket team are set to embark on a summer of international fixtures over the next month. The Manx side will compete in a bilateral series against an Austria T20I side in Austria at Seaborn Cricket Ground on the 31st of July and the 1st of August. 2 matches between the Isle of Man and Austria will be held on the first day, with a third taking place the day after. Just 2 days later, the Isle of Man squad will then travel to Romania to take part in the Intercontinental Cup. That competition will be held from the 4th to the 6th of August, with the Ireland team taking on Romania, Malta, Greece and the Czech Republic in the T20 event. Completing all 7 games across the 2 competitions will give the Isle of Man team an ICC T20 international rating.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Oh dear, at Ronaldsway, the 5:25 Loganair from Manchester is delayed till 7:30. The 5:28 Loganair from Liverpool is delayed till 9:30. And inbound, the quarter-past 8 from Gatwick, the EasyJet showing on time. The 8:30 Loganair from London City is on time. Outbound tonight, the 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool, the patient transfer plane's delayed till 8 o'clock. And then the last one back out tonight is the EasyJet to Gatwick at 8:45. On the roads, temporary lights on Estill Road, Onchan for work on the pavements. Gravell Road, Onchan's closed between Harbour Road and Fairway Close for some gas upgrade work. Loudest Road, Andreas is closed for resurfacing between the main road and Larravane Meadow. Starvey Road's closed for Manx Utilities to do some work. In Glenvine, some lights on the A1 near Ballygarry, traffic lights, some gas main work. Garth Road in Foxdale is closed between Tossaby Road and the Foxdale Road. They're replacing a bridge. In Peel, the Peel to Kirkmichael Coast Road's got some phase closures, and also East Keys closed between Haslam and Annan and the Road Bridge. In Ramsey, temporary lights on Cumberland Road. Laxey's got Ballacollister Road closed between Croydon Quill Road and Ransall Hill. Temporary lights on Howe Road, Portsmouth Merrifield substation work. And in Douglas, temporary lights on Ballacameen Road for resurfacing. In Bowldrine, Packhorse Lane is closed for resurfacing.
H&HMotorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646.
A new Isle of Man herring quota that follows 2 years of constructive post-Brexit discussions is said to provide a once-in-a-generation opportunity for the Manx fishing industry. The story from Siobhan Fletcher.
The deal, which was first reported in the Telegraph newspaper over the weekend, is said to have followed lengthy and productive talks between the Isle of Man and UK governments. Before the EU Common Fisheries Policy introduced quotas in the 1980s, fishermen had been free to catch the fish in Manx waters, and at its peak, the Manx herring industry was estimated to directly employ around 3,500 people, with a thriving kipper industry in full swing. However, falling stocks meant Manx fishermen's focus turned to scallops and queenies, and the quota allocated by the UK fell so far that the fishery was not commercially viable. By the time the herring numbers recovered to today's sustainable levels, quotas had become consolidated outside the Isle of Man under UK quota allocation rules. However, since Brexit, the UK has gained a greater share of Irish Sea herring quotas, and the Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs recently determined how this should be shared amongst British vessels. It means Manx fishermen can once again diversify, signalling the end of their reliance on shellfish. The Manx herring season will run from July to the end of the year. DEFRA has made an additional £150,000 available to fishing businesses wishing to diversify, and full details for those interested can be found at manxradio.com.
Update Brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
Remember, tomorrow is July the 5th. It's our National Day. It's Tynwald Day, and if you can't be at St John's in person, remember, tune in to Manx Radio for our National Day as it happens from first thing tomorrow morning. Work permits have been part of our employment scene for decades, but we could soon see work permits scrapped on the Isle of Man, albeit temporarily. It's as the Manx government looks at measures to expand the working population. That story from Lewis Foster.
The Department for Enterprise says it's proposing to temporarily remove the requirement for work permits across all sectors and occupations on the island. And it's taking this move, it says, following a recent public consultation. There were around 250 responses to that consultation, and the DFE says there was a lot of support for the proposals shown. The planned reforms to the work permit system on the island will be brought to the October sitting of Tynwald. Enterprise Minister Tim Johnston says whilst the existing system works well for the majority of employers and applicants, with consistently around 70% of applications approved within the same or next working day, there are clearly still significant perception issues around the system, including new residents being faced with a level of uncertainty in the initial stages and for the following 5 years. Given the high priority in retaining and attracting economically active individuals in a highly competitive environment, he says, we must do everything we can to ensure the island is an attractive place. The high priority he's talking about there is, of course, these plans we've heard about to boost the island's population to 100,000 over the next 15 years. Reviewing our work permit system forms a key part of this, Mr Johnston says, with a clear commitment outlined in our island plan to remove any barriers which do not support our ambition to deliver prosperity for our community. By bringing forward these proposals as set out in the consultation to Tynwald in October, the department aims to make it easier for businesses to employ skilled workers and to further streamline the process for relocating individuals moving to the island to fill key vacancies.
That's it for Update Tonight, brought to you from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Siobhan Fletcher, producer Rhiann Evans. After the news, Siobhan's along with Pride and Ellie Miller with the big hits at 6:30 tonight.
WINT